Look at my Star Trek toys! Whoosh! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the funeral, part 2 of Playmates Star Trek figures, the end of the line. As I said last week, I expected to get 15 or 20 comments. We're pushing 200, so we need to take a break, have a snack. Everybody can relax, and we're back this next week to continue the conversation from you guys about the Playmates line. So we've talked ad nauseum about the Playmates line. We have much more to talk about. But Mike, user XL7FD6GJ6S has a comment about Super 7.
He has a few, so bear with. I think Super 7 is getting out of the Trek business too. They just did a toy show and told several people there's no more figures on the schedule after Wave 2 of the TNG Ultimates. My Wave 1 figures just shipped, though I'm excited for them, and continues on. I talked to Brian Flynn of Super 7 on his Instagram this morning. And yes, we will all need to be supportive of Super 7 and Hiya if we want Star Trek action figures available. I guess people can argue that the prices, their prices, that's Super 7, are cost prohibitive, and I get it. But if Target is going to charge $30 for an exclusive vintage original trilogy collection Star Wars figure that is only 3.75 inches, you got to ask yourself, what kind of chance does Star Trek even have?
That was from Bon Giles, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, yeah, we'll have to do some digging into the Super 7. That would suck. So we also heard from Woof3598. Hilarious and fantastic. I love it. Obviously a play on Wolf359, but Woof, even better. Always wonder what the markup is on some things, and how do they decide what gets made and what doesn't, and the reasoning. Well, I mean, that's what we're discussing for hours right at this point. But the markup, I think, is really interesting because of the failure of a lot of these things has to do with what the cut that Walmart or Target or the retail person is getting of it. So therefore, the profit margins are so tiny. So you have to sell 1 trillion of them to make your money back. And obviously, they didn't.
Brings up a good point. I've asked before, I'll ask again. If anybody works in marketing for toys specifically, or anywhere in that chain between creative, marketing, retail, all that stuff, and you would like to drop us an email, chat with us, or can shed any light to this. It doesn't have to be one of those, like, you know, like we'll hide your, I mean, look, we're having a conversation here. Unless you'd like to stay anonymous, up to you. But anyway, you can reach out to us at lookatmystartrektoys@gmail.com. Keith, we'll find a way to put it on the show, get it on the show. We would appreciate it. Thank you. As always, we acknowledge wholeheartedly you are smarter than we are.
1,000,000%. Yeah, look at my Star Trek toys at gmail.com. You can also find us at, just apropos of nothing, at patreon.com/K&M. Spell out that and. Get a lot of bonus fun stuff. And here are amazing patrons. Right now, you can join these fine people at that link below and get all sorts of fun bonus nonsense. All right, we're not going to do that for too long. Super Hayes 256 says, for real? I swear, what is with the wrong people always getting and completely wasting Star Trek licenses every dang time?
Hypertensive Films is back. First McFarlane, then Diamond Select, now Playmates again. What I really want is a company to take the license that will have the confidence and wherewithal to produce high-quality figures that they market properly. That's all I want. As a Star Trek fan, that's all I want.
Yeah, that's fair. And Sean's Toy Room, 7274, so it makes me miss the Berman years. Fascinating. Yeah, I mean, Berman's legacy is complicated, but those are the eras that we're all going back to. So, there we go.
At Voyage's fan film, Keith?
Yes.
Disappointed to hear, but I do agree that the nostalgia marketing targeting collectors who already owned the original, and dare I say, superior, product was a bit of a misstep. Glad to hear that they will continue with the ships and the roleplay items. They're still a bit too toy, in my eyes, especially where there have been other better sculpted and more accurate vehicles and tech in the past, but I'm still interested to see what they come up with next.
Yeah, interesting. At JFK28STO1 fan says, great but sad video on the Playmates Star Trek
toy figures. It was a bummer I won't be able to get past the next-gen cast in figure form. Was hoping to get the original series cast in their original series motion picture and Monster Maroon uniforms, along with Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise cast figures. Do you think we'll get comm badges? Yeah. And at Rhythm Icon says, get the 1993 Series 2 line. Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is one of the limitations of Playmates here, why they're competing with themselves. Most of those figures that you're talking about wanting are readily available from the 90s line. You go on eBay and get them super cheap, especially if they're not carded. And you can't get all the Monster Maroons. You can get some of the Monster Maroons, but there's plenty of customizers out there who can fill in that line. Colin Dagan hooked me up with the whole set right behind me. But yeah, I mean, your best bet, go back to the 90s line. They're everywhere and cheap. So, and thus why we're having some troubles here.
At Nanjin 1536, you guys make some great points about the situation. I am a 1/6 Star Trek producer. Hit us up. Let's see some.
Yeah, can you send us some stuff?
Yeah.
Look at my Star Trek toys at gmail.com. I'd love to see them. Daniel F4423 says Exo 6 Star Trek is the only way to go, in my opinion. I'm thankful there's at least one company that is committed to bringing all of our favorite characters to life in figure form and has delivered more consistent Star Trek products than any other company in the last 5+ years.
The Exo 6 stuff that I've seen at Midtown Comics generally in person has been absolutely insane and incredible, and I would love to get my hands on some of it to check out, but it is a little cost prohibitive, so there's that risk reward there. As a collector, you could have like the one really nice thing, or like a whole bunchies of the less expensive nicey thing, right? So that's a tough one to weigh.
Yeah, indeed. So at Maltese Falcon 85
like, Keith,
says,
do you want that one awesome donut or cupcake from Magnolia, or do you want 15 from Entenmann's? You can just.
I think everybody here can tell which choice I made. At Maltese Falcon 85 says, hey dudes, first time commenting on my new account. Got sick of opening my phone to write stuff. That was a sad thing to hear. When I finished work for the day, I picked up the Spock, Kirk, Khan, and Picard and Rikers, as well as the 1701 and the Phaser. No D or communicator yet, and definitely no Discovery. Personally, I think they were aiming at too many people because the shots were too wide and they missed half of them. Older fans didn't like it due to the form factor, and newer fans didn't want the older characters. The Next Gen fans didn't want anything but the same with the Discovery and original series fans. It was too short or too tall to fit in any of the other sci-fi lines. That's a fair point. Olin tried to do too much in what is essentially brand new IP. As an international customer, I saw none of on the actual shelves at some of the biggest toy stores in my area. This never hit comic book stores. Super 7 Next Gen reaction figures were everywhere, but I had to go hunting for these on Amazon. To add that there was no marketing whatsoever. So even if people would have bought it in droves, which is possible for those kids who grew up with the line, unless they were lucky enough to have seen an article or a figure, they would have no idea it was out there. Right now, the biggest thing in Star Trek is Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds both boosted each other up, recently having a crossover, yes. I think they should have held back on the Next Gen and Wrath of Khan and got people interested by using the names people were searching for. Heck, the D just appeared on Picard, so any reviews of that was in the sweet spot for the algorithm. That said, if they are just taking a break, I think they will come back strong as long as they get more advertising budget. If not, well, I got some figures, saved some shelf space, and got to see your smiling faces, review them every week. I'm content, if not wistful, for what might have been.
Thank you so much, Maltese Falcon.
Really good points.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
At June, it's not only can I not read your names, but for some reason I have lost the ability to zoom in on my browser here, so everything is very small. So I'm old manning the hell out of this.
Just put on another pair of glasses; it'll be fine.
We're at Junior Sriracha. This all. What does it say? Is that not what it says?
Not even close.
Wait, I've got the button. I'm hitting the wrong. Okay, I got. You know how
Junior
dare you?
Sriracha.
Oh, JC Richichi.
Do you have kids, but regular sriracha is just a little too spicy? Try junior sriracha.
JC Chichi. JC Richichi? It's tough, man. You give it a go.
Jay Crichichi.
Oh, Jay Crichichi. All right. Junior Sriracha says, this all stems from the cancellation of Star Trek Prodigy. But it has been picked up again. It was pitched as the kids' show, and Playmates were basically the only ones selling the Prodigy line. When it was canceled, Playmates was left in the cold.
That's fair.
Yeah, it found a home in Netflix, Mike. But it won't officially be out till Christmas, meaning that if it goes viral again in season 2 is a smash hit after the Christmas season, so it's like, what's the point? As for the 90s Redux, they should have kept it within the style of the 90s. And frankly, they were aiming for older Trek fans. They should have done the playsets first. Keith seems to agree. I'll also say that it seems absurd to me that, you know, of all the stuff, Picard season 3 notwithstanding, Lower Decks is smashing it. Smashing it, and you see nothing from that. Like, no toys, no nothings. So, interesting.
Yeah. Eric Wilson, 3123, says, what a huge disappointment. I guess I can always get the older ones. Yeah, well, we all can. Or pay the money for the XO6 figures. Also looking at the Super 7 Next Generation Ultimates and Haya toys. Yeah. And, go ahead.
With a great name here, at Nothing But Everything 2023. It takes a special person to appreciate Star Trek toys and collectibles. They're not meant for everyone, and I will miss going into Walmart and Target and finding these diamonds.
Yes. Iceman 2K says, time to look for bargain bins. Yeah, you can definitely find them cheap now. James Patrick 6350 says, I'm sad for those who were collecting these figures, but unsurprised. These were not quality figures and looked quite poor even when compared to the Playmates 90s Trek output. One of the selling points of the 90s Trek line is the outstanding, if slightly cartoonish, likenesses. They were immediately recognizable. None of these new figures had that level of accuracy. The ships, however, seem lovely, and the Enterprise D, despite its flaws, is a really nice effort. I can't disagree with anything he said.
No.
For sure.
There are still people commenting on our Enterprise video telling us that they're escape pods and not windows.
What?
No matter how many times we responded in the video, other videos on the description, people just don't. It's just nobody wants to give us any slack on that, Keith.
I don't know, guys. If you keep coming for us, we're going to jettison you out the windows.
You're at James Patrick 6350. I've adjusted the size. I can read now. Your thoughts on the toys as they parallel the franchise are intriguing. As a 90s fan, I haven't really connected with any of the new shows in a way that has made me want any kind of figure or ship or tie-in merchandise. It seems the franchise itself lacks the singular vision and flavor it had under Berman, and now the shows and movies are rather disparate offerings, all superficially offered under the Star Trek brand. Now, that is not exclusive to Trek in any way, right? Right now, the sort of
all the reboots and remounts.
IP is basically like, can we create a universe, an umbrella universe, so that we can have our cake and eat it too? And you're seeing that as Marvel is starting to flounder a little bit, you're starting to see a bit of a fatigue of that effort across the consuming public. So that's a great point to bring up, James.
Yeah. Old friend JD the Black Phoenix, of course, JD makes here on the YouTubes, says, damn, I've been holding off hoping it wasn't true. I bought so many extra figures for making customs, and that didn't even help. Miraculous Ladybug is massive in the preteen crowd. We mentioned it in our video about this for boys and girls. It's a very strong show for girls with a ton of action for boys. Maybe check it out. To be honest, my videos about the old ships do better than the videos about the old figures. Yeah, ours too. My custom videos are the best, but the ships are right up there. You make a valid point. Yeah, Haya looks to be our next best hope. Also, several of us have been curious. At some point in the last week, Playmates took their Instagram page down. They have no pictures or anything. So is this them doing a scrub? Is that still true? Mike, I'm going to read the next one. Look up and see if Playmates
I'm
Instagram
looking at it
is still
right
up.
now, and I'm not. Oh. This can't be the right Playmates because this just has picture of food.
That's Platemates.
Yes. That's funny. Well, yeah. No. In fact, Playmates is bringing up a lot of naked photographs, which is, I should have known was coming my way.
I'm going to go back to that.
Yeah, I just blew up the algorithm. Yeah, it looks like that is still accurate as of today, Keith.
Interesting. Wow.
Now,
Mr. Michael.
When Apple does that, when Apple clears it up, that means they're releasing something awesome and new. I don't know that that's what's happening here.
No. The next one's for you, Mike, for obvious reasons.
Oh boy, it's long. At Mr. Michael PM.
Yeah, see, that's can you?
Yeah, I get it. Well done, buddy. I think the new Playmates truck is too expensive now. Plus, the newer versions still had their own new pros and cons. Questionable choices for toy special light and sound effects. This seems... Did AI write this? Many of the new versions of the toys have many more ugly screw fastener bosses.
Yep.
I feel like maybe we've done a translation of sorts here, Keith.
It's possible, yes.
This is why older Trek fans have a boatload of these Playmates toys in their collections. We older Trek fans also have a shetload of these Playmates toys. Okay. I think the general consensus here is I like the original Playmates phaser, communicator, and tricorder toys, more of that stuff. I really think this is where Playmates got it wrong. It's a little too expensive.
Yeah.
And stuff.
It does make a really good point that the Playmates toys were kind of like Hot Wheels. And I think that's true. You could get them, you get a bunch of them for relatively cheap, but like, relatively good quality. Like the Hot Wheels, especially in our days when they were still metal, were old.
Yeah.
They were
die-cast, baby.
The die-cast, they were really high quality, and like you could just grab them relatively affordably and have a huge collection. Man,
interestingly, a friend of mine, Keith, has been collecting. Now, some of the new Transformers toys are cool, but they don't make them like they used to, man. The 80s where they were like just die-cast and awesome. My buddy's been getting some of the Transformers, but they're called Deformers off of Temu, and they're like 9-inch scale and die cast and like the old ones. So I don't know.
Really?
They probably have lead paint for all I know. But I guess you still got Temu if you really want. If you're looking for quantity over quality, it's always there for you.
There you go. Robert Rostad 3930 says collector, customizer, and interested fan. The line can't catch a break. The various toy line scales have been inconsistent from the beginning. Undersized vehicles and awkward playsets. I would suggest they should have started with Strange New Worlds, but it's entirely possible that making a prototype figure line takes longer than making a season of television. Yeah, that's probably true. The line does and will always belong to the collectors and the better customizers. And I know Robert is a customizer.
Johnny Johnson, 8732. I personally never saw a figure in any retail stores.
Such a common complaint.
Master Blaster Toys, Keith, says, I think their mistake...
who runs Bartertown? Master Blaster runs Bartertowns.
Master Blaster Toys thinks, I think their mistake was selling too many different figures, different eras. As we had mentioned before, they can't come out with one whole crew at a time, just the main characters. Come on. The way they did it, it would take so long to complete any of the lines. There's your wanting to complete line as a collector.
There you go.
Again, Keith.
At Grendel Spice says the scopes were bland and dead on arrival. You can't put out that low effort crap and have it hanging onto the pegs next to NECA, Marvel Legends, McFarlane, etc. Doing the Strange New World crew in the 90s style would have been a better bet, but I'm guessing it's just Monday morning quarterbacking at this point. A lot of people feeling that way.
Yeah, Strange New World's getting a lot of votes, which I appreciate also, but to your point, they weren't on the pegs next to anything. They weren't on the pegs.
They weren't on the peg, yeah. Yeah, fair.
Distribution, definitely a major cause, says at Daniel Bamford 5303. Here in Australia, for the whole country, you could only buy all of the figures and ancillary products at online retail stores and the odd random figure at a toy shop chain. Even talking to a distributor over here, they said stores aren't taking the product. They are also a 5-inch scale where most collectors buy 375, 6, or for DC, now 7. If they were starting from scratch and they would have come out with a different scale and made them more deluxe like Star Wars Black Series or NECA, I love those NECA toys, man. I gotta say, everyone. Jen's loving collecting them for me. A bunch of the Monster Universe toys.
Oh, yeah,
and the Back to the Future series. I got a bunch. I haven't even opened them.
Content.
Yeah. Should we open them? I want to open them. Yeah. Anyway, Black Series or NECA, and I just market to older collectors.
Yes. Heroic Age 616 says, not surprising, there was no marketing and the figure quality was subpar compared to the competitors. Scott Gordon 518 says, I'm not disappointed that the line is canceled. My disappointment came in 2022, and this cancellation was the inevitable result of poor product, poor marketing, and poor vision. Playmates had the choice of going full-on retro or producing something that would appeal to modern action figure collectors. Instead, they chose a mediocre middle ground that failed on all fronts and please no one. I think that's better articulated than we've said for 2 hours.
At Cheesebat says, I knew nothing about these figures even coming out until they magically showed up at a local Target. But I hardly ever saw any figures outside con, and the Discovery figures, the disco ones that nobody seems to care about. Shame we didn't get something different like characters from Strange New Worlds and Picard.
Yes. Phil Martinez, 1872, says the issue is they went back to the 90s figures with everything being 6 inches to 7 inches. We will just get Star Trek, not the old stuff. You guys are hitting it on the head.
At Larry Graham, 9134, I think they didn't know how to market Big Bad Toy Store. Never did get their pre-order, and very little advertising. They wouldn't talk to us and let us know anything. That, I would say, communication was just poor from the get. It's sad because the XO figures, which are over $200, are selling. Super 7s are selling, and now Hiya Toys are doing the Kelvin line, which 1/18th, which tier actually 4.1 scale. That's not meaning a lot to me. So if they do well, maybe they'll do Strange New Worlds or other Trek shows.
Yeah, and I mean, so many people, especially, I get a lot of communication from people frustrated with Playmates' lack of communication.
We were frustrated.
We were frustrated. No, for sure. And so the lack of marketing and honestly, you know, we give them a lot of leeway because of budget, knowing they don't have a lot of budget. Well, I do a lot of marketing with no budget. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's about creativity and communication and openness. And you can do a heck of a lot more without having to spend very much money to get this out. And one of the number one ways to do that is to communicate with the people who are out here spreading the message. And in all fairness, Playmates did communicate with us. And we, you know,
and they sent us some stuff at one point.
Yeah, and several times. And we are not the only people who have channels talking about the Playmates line. Like we are not the one-stop shop. There's a lot of people doing fantastic work reporting on all of this stuff. But there's not like 300 of us. There's like 5 or 6, right? And so they could have worked much harder to help get out the information by working with all the people and communicating with us. So there it is. So Scott McClary 594 says, makes sense because like I said before, Star Trek isn't where it was in the 90s, and to do a retro mod figure line was kind of insane. What they should have done for figures was box sets that had the whole main casts. Ship and role plays always do well. That's also a really good point because they've done that before. Mm-hmm. They did the original series cast all in one box set. Again, going to adult collectors. All right, give me 7 figures. Okay, so I'll pay $100 for that or whatever it is. It's more. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Doomed Customs. Love the Playmates line, still own them, but they're boxed and stored. Better sculpted 6-inch line would have been more successful with exactly what Keith said. Online retails only until it took off. So sad.
Sad indeed. Sound Out 12 says the announcement of the new line got me so excited to the point of creating a documentary series for the original line. But to see how Playmates basically fumbled out of the gate with the new one just crushed me. There's a lot of potential in the Star Trek toy line, but starting out with a wave that was 8 characters who all have way too much merch already made me worried. 6 of the characters were made by Playmates already, and despite the very limited Discovery product, Burnham and Saru were made multiple times. There was nothing fresh feeling about the wave, but I hoped they could rally and build excitement in the next wave. I also felt it was a mistake that the first wave of Prodigy didn't include at least the Rock Tonk to finish out the main cast. Yes, and the Janeway. Not to mention the Prodigy line took so long to come out. The series existed for 2 Christmas seasons with no toys. That's a huge mistake. And I have to wonder if kids even cared about the toys once they did come out, because since they were released after season 1 concluded and the characters no longer look like the figures they made. Such good points. I totally agree with your comments about how they're used to not having to do much to sell the Ninja Turtles, because as a turtle collector until Mutant Mayhem, it felt like Playmates was phoning in their turtle line with mostly reissues. It's sad to see the potential of the new Playmates Star Trek line all but dead so soon. Hopefully, we can get another affordable line out there for collectors. Hiya Toys? Thanks for all the coverage and the status of the line, and sorry for the long comment. Never be sorry for a long comment.
Sound Out 12. Check him out on YouTube, because apparently that documentary series is really great. So I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, Sound Out 12. Definitely check it out.
Actually brings up a point, Keith, or tangentially brings up a point that I was thinking about too. Gone are the days that TV shows, cartoons, right, were made to sell the toys, right? Now it's flipped. The toys are like branched off the IP of the television show, and it's a tougher gauge as to what you're making, right?
No, that's totally fair.
At Razor Geist, I feel bad for figure collectors, but I never really got them. Ships on the other hand, I always get the ships, so I'm interested to see how those go forward.
Yes. At Carl J.W. Fisher says, proof that Playmates wasn't on their game. Instead of trying to sell toys in the weeks leading up to the holidays, they announced they would stop selling toys. Sort of explains it all. At Matthew Evans, 97, I'm going from rapid fire.
Yeah,
I realized we are now 2 episodes and we're not even halfway. I hope the Playmates gives us an updated Enterprise 1701B toy. Ooh, interesting. Or maybe they could give us the retrofit Enterprise as a toy.
At Called Turn a Gundam. Awesome. Personally, I'm okay with this. Always preferred the ships and phasers anyway. More resources in those lines? Sure. But I get this sucks for others.
And View TY Recruit 6715 says they should have started with the original series line and the actual original series show, not the movies.
All right. At Matt Drace 7493, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, whew, stretch.
This is just history repeating. The problem with Star Trek toys laid out in The Toys That Made Us, excellent documentary on Netflix,
fantastic.
Still hasn't been figured out. Why can't they just commit to doing something and completing it? They could have focused on Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, and threw in some old figures here and there. Due to lower than expected sales? Seriously? They didn't put out enough product to get any gauge on sales, and they only put them in the collector's corner at Target, which never has more than 5 or 6 on the pegs at a time. And it's always the Michelle Bachmann over there who's just sitting there sad because no one's buying her. They should have been in the regular toy aisle and focused on figures we have never seen before. The new shows. Star Trek toy makers have never seized and taken advantage of the situation at hand. The 2009 movie line is another example of this. A Build-A-Bridge that never got completed. Do they actually want to make Star Trek toys or not? Seems like not. In regards to making toys, the only property more frustrating than Star Trek is Robotech.
Yeah, good point. At Zombie F Body says, can't say I'm surprised. Stores near me didn't have dedicated shelf space for them. Nothing on planograms. They just crammed them wherever they had spare room. What the hell did Playmates expect? This is probably the worst handled toy line I've seen. I have no interest in roleplay or ship models with a dozen or more ugly visible screws holding the silly things together. So who's getting in line next only to bow out after one wave of figures? I was thinking about the screw holes in all of the ships and toys. So I get it that not having them or filling them is super expensive and, probably prohibitively expensive. However, Playmates, if you're listening, we're nerds. We don't mind doing a little work. In the new ships that come out, give us a tiny little bag of little plastic dots and we'll put them in ourselves. That it can't be that expensive to just have a whole bunch of little plastic screw hole fillers, right? Just print a gazillion of them, just throw a pack of them in with all the ships. We'll do it ourselves. I understand that it's the manpower to actually put them in that probably makes it cost prohibitive. It can't be cost prohibitive to just give us some and we'll do it ourselves.
There's a balance, right?
This way you can solve your problems.
For ships, I know that there's a huge market that are people who are into the nitty-gritty detail that are buying the kits, right, and putting together these models. Right. But there's still a bunch of people that want detail and want what's authenticity, but don't want to spend or forget the money. Don't want to do the work, right? Don't want to, the meticulous work, or I literally do not have the physical capability of doing that type of model work. So as Keith mentioned there, give us the bits and the bops, make it an easier.
We can fill it
lift.
ourselves.
Yeah,
this is a fixable problem. Just give us the little thingies to fill it in. We'll do it ourselves and we'll all be better off for it.
All right, a couple more, and then
we're getting pretty much to the top. I feel like if we power through, no, you think
we're less than halfway on mine.
Oh, I zoomed in. That's why it looks like that. Well,
I was gonna say we got
a long way to go. It's a trilogy,
go.
Keith. It's a trilogy of mourning.
It's a trilogy. All right, there it is. We'll see if anybody's still watching at the third part.
Yeah, people want to hear their own. We're paying respect.
That's true. That is true. It is. Everybody's voice is equally deserving of being heard. Tell us where we are.
At Richard Coleman 3425. He is a long one, so I'm going to Richard. No disrespect. I'm gonna jump a bit. This is sad news, but I can understand it. Nostalgia toys appeal by their nature mainly to just adult collectors, and the main figure size for adult collectors is now 6-inch. See Star Wars Black, G.I. Joe Classified, Marvel Legends, etc. for the major IPs. In addition to this, there is an ongoing move from store retail to online selling, which impacts advertising to the general public. Then you're talking advertising. The best advert for products is the show. And whilst I was just mentioning this, and whilst I accept there is an audience, albeit a smaller one, that likes modern Star Trek programs, they're not generally the type of spare income or an inclination to spend that on a product, which is why so much STD stuff became peg warmers. And that's across the board. Here in the UK, you can still buy MOC, 2020 Mego, Saru, and Berman figures, for like $7 or $8, including shipping costs. I'm not sure what Playmate's strategy could have been, though. TOS and TNG weren't big in the public consciousness, and so the Abrams movies didn't really light a fire for New Trek in general public, nor did New Trek on TV, which was really shown that what it should have been when season 3 of Picard aired. Thank you, Mr. Matalis.
Matalis, I think.
Matalis. Perhaps that would have been the best time to go to Playmates to hit the shelves with their range, focusing first on the TNG characters and ships. Who knows? Very glad, though, that we have the opportunity to get the gangly Spock, who looks great with my custom crew for the Enterprise A, and also Admiral Kirk, and various other things. Oh, Playmates, if you do end up just making ships just because they appeal to more of your customers and you want more customers, make a USS Reliant from The Wrath of Khan. To paraphrase, build it, and they will come.
At Logic Blaster says, I'm surprised they're going to stop doing Trek figures. I didn't buy any of them because the scale does not match up with anything else I collect. Had they been 6 inches tall or 3 3/4 tall, I would have been interested. I did buy the ships and the roleplay items, and it's good to hear those will continue. Hopefully they'll produce a tricorder and a Klingon battle cruiser from the original series. Seems like those might be coming. I would buy both those items. Yeah, I mean, Logic Blaster might be exactly what Playmates is finding from where the sales are.
BTBCC 12859 clearance incoming at Dark Destroyer 98 Hasbro or NECA. It's time to make it so. And then we've got Subarus here in the UK. I was just browsing through various online shops and noticed a couple of months ago that the figs from Wave 1 did eventually sell out, including 2 from Discovery and Disco, Saru and Berman. Yeah. It was certainly not an instant hit. It took over a year to achieve, but in the end, it did happen. So from my limited point of view, the situation has not seemed that bad, and therefore I am now relatively surprised over this, sad at the outcome.
Yeah. At AntMartag 2866, I didn't even know these existed until I saw this video. I think it came to bad promotion. Yeah.
At Subrix again, Playmates Toys website has been largely unreliable, out-of-date piece of trash for the past year or so. We commented that we liked it, Keith. We liked the bips and boops. So
it was too slow, though. Yeah, really slow to navigate.
As fan at I'm not even going to try. Atif. Oh no, yeah, I can read it. Atif Hamid, 4695. As fans, we had Picard, Riker already. Yes, if they had shot out with Strange New Worlds, that seems to be a recurring theme. A lot of people wanted the new stuff, Keith, which is counter to what you had thought. So there's 2 different ways of thinking, right? Give us the new stuff or fill in the old line. They did neither.
Yeah, just pick a lane. I think either lane would have been more successful. All right, we're going to finish up with at Risantia, who says, the distribution also doesn't seem great. My local Target doesn't carry any of the role-playing items or ships. It also seems like Super 7, 8.
Oh, man. There you go. There you have it. Keith winked out of existence, and that's how we're going to bring this second episode of Mourning to a close, as Keith's cat clearly pulled the wire. It makes bringing me such joy. We're going to come back next week and finish up with our third part in the Morning Trilogy. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. We truly appreciate it. We respect your voices, and we really appreciate the support of the channel. It's a great little community, and we love that you're a part of it. Subscribe if you can. Check out our other stuff. We're watching every episode of Deep Space Nine together and reviewing it. We're on season 4, so you can catch up now or go back and catch up with us. We'll be back next week. Until then, this has been...
Look at my Star Trek toy!